The long grass began where the burned ground ended. A lightning fire had run through the plain 3 weeks earlier, fast and clean, leaving black soil and brittle stalks. Now the regrowth was low and green, a short carpet that made walking easy and made seeing far possible. But along the river's old floodline, the grass hadn't burned the same way. Moisture lingered there. Stalks stayed tall, and where the grass stayed tall, visibility stopped. That was the edge. Animals used it like a wall. Grazers fed along it because it offered 2 things at once: tender new shoots on the burned side and cover to retreat into on the tall side. Predators used it because the wall worked both ways. It hid movement, it stole distance, it let the hunter decide when the prey would finally understand. A lion moved along that edge in early morning light, shoulders rolling under a dusty coat. He was not the biggest lion on the plain, but he carried himself like one that didn't need to be. His mane was thin and dark around the neck, more practical than beautiful, worn down by heat and fighting. Flies worried the corners of his eyes. His left ear had a notch. A scar ran from his cheek toward the jawline, pale against tawny fur. He walked with purpose, nose low, reading the edge like a seam. Every few steps he paused to listen. The grass on the tall side shifted slightly as wind combed it, but the movement was uniform, meaningless. The lion was searching for the movement that was not uniform: a breath, a footstep, a bird's sudden silence. He wasn't alone in the landscape, but he was alone in the moment. The pride slept farther back near the river shade. The lion had left them to patrol. Not hunting yet, holding. The edge was his line. On the short grass side, a herd of impala grazed in loose groups. They were relaxed enough to eat, tense enough to keep heads lifting in rhythm. Their ears flicked constantly. They knew the edge held danger, but they also knew the burned side gave them the best food. Hunger negotiated with caution, and hunger usually won. Farther out, a lone buffalo cow stood with a calf near a termite mound. She watched everything. Buffalo never looked relaxed. They looked like they were waiting for betrayal. The lion stopped and sat. He faced into the wind, which carried scent from the short grass toward him. It brought antelope, dust, dry dung, and, faint but unmistakable, human. Not the distant human smell that lived everywhere near parks and tracks. This was sharper, recent, sweat and fabric, something metallic, something that didn't belong in grass. The lion's head angled slightly, his eyes narrowed. He stood and moved again, slower now. 1 kilometer away, on the far side of the short grass, a man ran. He wasn't running because he liked it. His body showed that. His stride was uneven, shoulders hunched, head turning too often. He ran like someone whose lungs were already negotiating failure. His name was Daniel Varga. He was a tourist who had made a series of bad decisions in a short amount of time. The first bad decision was believing the plain was open and therefore safe. The second was leaving the marked track to get closer to a better photo. The third was trying to correct the second decision by running when he realized he was not alone out there. Daniel had dropped his camera bag half an hour ago because it made noise and pulled him off balance. His phone was in his hand, dead screen reflecting the sky. His water bottle was empty and bouncing against his ribs. His shirt was soaked through. His throat tasted like dust. Behind him, the tall grass wall seemed to follow. He kept glancing back, expecting to see the lion at full sprint, teeth bared, like the documentaries. He saw nothing, and that was worse, because predators didn't chase like movies when chasing wasn't necessary. Daniel ran toward what looked like safety, a low rise where he could see farther, where maybe he could spot a road or a vehicle or a lodge roof. But the plane played tricks with distance. Heat shimmer made everything float. The horizon lied. He stumbled once, recovered, and kept going. Then he heard something that stopped his breath. Not a roar. A low, steady growl, close enough that it didn't need volume. Daniel froze mid-step. His body wanted to run. Every part of him screamed to run. But something older in him, the part that recognized when prey behavior got you killed faster, locked him in place. He turned slowly. The lion stood at the edge of the long grass, half in cover, half out, as if he had stepped out just for Daniel to see him. The lion wasn't charging, he was simply there. A fact. Daniel's chest rose and fell fast. He lifted his hands without meaning to, palms out, like stopping a car with air. The lion's gaze stayed on Daniel, calm and cold and unreadable. Daniel took one step back. The lion stepped forward once, just one heavy step, closing the distance slightly. Daniel's stomach dropped. A small sound escaped him, not a scream, more like the start of one. On a distant ridge, a vehicle appeared, white, boxy, moving fast. Inside was a ranger named Nia Imbele and a tracker named Jabu. They had been scanning for Daniel since the lodge reported him missing at sunrise. They had found his camera bag first, then his footprints, then the churned marks where he'd started running. Nia held binoculars up and saw the scene on the plain. A man, alone, a lion at the edge. Nia's voice was clipped. "There," she said. Jabu leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Lion is holding him," he murmured. Nia didn't ask what that meant. She knew. A lion that was actively hunting would already be moving. A lion that was holding was controlling space, testing reactions, waiting for the right mistake. Nia accelerated. As the vehicle closed, the lion's ears twitched. It heard the engine now, distant but approaching. Daniel heard it too. Hope surged through him like electricity. He started to move, half run, half stumble, toward the sound. The lion stepped fully out of the long grass. Not sprinting, just walking. Daniel stopped running again, because the lion's walk said something clear. Don't. And for the first time since he'd left the track, Daniel did what he should have done from the beginning. He stopped. He stood still. He breathed, shaking, and tried to make himself not look like prey on legs. The lion held the long grass edge, and the man, finally, stopped running. From the vehicle, Nia could see Daniel's shoulders trembling. She could also see the lion's posture, head level, tail low, not swishing hard. The lion wasn't in full attack mode yet. That mattered. "Don't blow the horn," Jabu said immediately. Nia's hand hovered near the wheel. "Why not?" "Horn can trigger chase," Jabu replied. "Noise can flip the switch." Nia clenched her jaw. She slowed slightly, keeping the vehicle's approach steady rather than sudden. Predators reacted to sudden changes. So did people. Daniel saw the vehicle now, clearer, coming across the short grass. He wanted to wave. He wanted to scream. He wanted to sprint toward it like it was a rope thrown to a drowning man. But the lion's eyes stayed on him like a hand on his throat. Nia pulled within 50 meters and stopped. She opened the door carefully and stood half behind it, making herself bigger but not aggressive. She raised her voice, not shouting, not panicking. "Daniel," she called. "Do not run. Do not turn your back. Look at me." Daniel's head jerked toward her. Tears cut tracks through dust on his cheeks. "I can't," he started. "Yes, you can," Nia said, firm. "Listen, keep facing the lion. Step sideways, slow, one step at a time." Daniel swallowed hard. He tried to make his legs obey. The lion watched the vehicle now, too. It shifted attention between Daniel and the newcomers, assessing risk. Lions were not stupid. They knew vehicles. They knew what people did from vehicles. They also knew that sometimes vehicles meant nothing, just noise that left again. This lion didn't bolt. It stood its ground. Jabu slipped out of the passenger side, moving low, scanning the grass edge. He wasn't looking at the lion's face. He was reading the lion's whole body. Shoulder tension, paw placement, tail, ear angle. You could tell a lot from what stayed still. Nia kept her voice steady. "Sideways, Daniel. Slow." Daniel moved one foot to the side. The lion stepped forward once. Daniel froze again. "Good," Nia said quickly. "Stop, that's fine, don't rush." Daniel's mind wanted a simple rule. Move equals live. But the rule here was different. Panic equals trigger. If he ran, he might activate the chase response. Not always, not guaranteed, but why gamble with teeth? Jabu murmured to Nia without looking away. "Lion is young male, not full mane, likely patrolling. Could be hungry, could be just testing." Nia nodded slightly. "We take him slow." She turned her head just enough to speak to Daniel again. "Daniel, when I tell you, you will continue sideways. Do not run. I will move the vehicle forward slowly. The lion will decide this isn't worth it." Daniel's throat worked like he was chewing words. "It's so close." "It's close because you ran," Nia said. "Not cruel, just honest. Now you stop making it closer." The lion lifted its head slightly and opened its mouth. Daniel saw teeth and his stomach turned cold. But the lion didn't roar. It didn't lunge. It simply breathed, panting lightly in the heat. Nia started the engine again, soft, controlled. She rolled forward a few meters, narrowing the space between the vehicle and Daniel while keeping a buffer so the lion didn't feel cornered and explode. Jabu lifted one hand, palm down, slow. Nia obeyed. Daniel took another sideways step. This time the lion didn't follow. It stood, watching, calculating. Then, like a thought passing, its ears flicked toward the long grass again. Something there mattered. Maybe the pride, maybe a scent, maybe the simple fact that the edge was its preferred place, and this human problem had become inconvenient. Nia used that moment. "Now," she said to Daniel. "Sideways, keep going." Daniel moved. Step, step, step. He was 20 meters from the vehicle now. The lion took one step forward again, half-hearted, uncertain. Jabu raised his voice, sharp and low, a sound like a bark, not a scream. It was a human sound meant to mimic dominance without panic. The lion stopped. Nia opened the back door of the vehicle. "Get in," she commanded. Daniel broke the rule slightly. He moved faster, but he did not run. He shuffled quickly, hands still up, eyes flicking between lion and door. He reached the vehicle and climbed in awkwardly, nearly falling. Nia slammed the door shut. Daniel's chest heaved. He pressed his forehead against the seat back, shaking. Outside, the lion stared at the vehicle for a long moment. Nia and Jabu didn't celebrate. They didn't wave arms. They didn't shout. They let the moment stay quiet, because quiet was what prevented a second problem. Finally, the lion turned and stepped back into the long grass. The stalks swallowed him without drama. The edge became a wall again. Nia exhaled, long and controlled. Jabu's voice was low. "He will keep this line," he said. "He likes this edge. He will hold it again tomorrow for something else." Nia started driving, slow at first. In the back seat, Daniel whispered, "I thought if I ran, I'd outrun him," Nia finished. Daniel didn't answer. Nia glanced at him in the mirror. "You can't outrun a lion," she said, "but you can outthink the moment you're in." Daniel's eyes were wide, raw. "I stopped because he made me." Nia nodded once. "Sometimes the animal teaches you the rule," she said, "and sometimes you survive long enough to learn it." They drove toward the track, toward radios and water and paperwork. Behind them, the long grass edge stayed exactly where it was, and the lion, somewhere inside it, walked the line like it belonged to him, because in a way it did. Back at the ranger post, Daniel sat on a bench with a blanket over his shoulders, even though the day was hot. Shock made people cold. Nia filled out the report while a medic checked Daniel's pulse and scraped dust out of a small cut on his knee. Daniel didn't really feel the cut. He felt the memory. Jabu stood outside with 2 other rangers, discussing the lion. "Same male," Jabu said, "holding long grass edge by the burn line." One ranger spat into the dirt. "Tourists always run." Nia heard it and didn't contradict him. She had seen it too many times. The instinct to flee overriding training, signs, briefings, common sense. People brought city logic into wild places. If you run, you create distance. They forgot that predators were built around closing distance. Nia walked out and joined them. "We need to warn the lodge again," she said. "That edge is a trap line." The other ranger nodded. "We can put an observer on the ridge. Keep vehicles moving there. Make the lion less comfortable." Jabu shook his head slightly. "If you push him from edge, he moves to another edge. There's always an edge." Nia looked toward the plain, eyes narrowed. The landscape was a patchwork of burned and unburned, short grass and tall, open and hidden. It was full of lines predators could use. "What about relocating him?" the other ranger asked. Nia didn't like that option. Relocation solved one area and created another. A lion moved into someone else's problem zone, or it tried to return and died crossing roads, or it ended up fighting a resident male and getting injured. Management decisions were never clean. Before Nia could answer, a radio crackled. "Unit 3, copy. There's a herder near the western edge. Says the lion is close to his cattle." Nia's face tightened. "Which herder?" "Hamad," the radio said. "He's on foot. He's scared." Jabu cursed softly. On foot near that edge is suicide. Nia didn't waste time. She grabbed keys. They drove fast, faster than she liked, because timing mattered. If the lion encountered cattle, it might be tempted. If it encountered a man on foot panicking, it might be triggered into a chase. And the worst outcomes started from one mistake followed by another. They found Hamad near a shallow drainage, standing with a stick and 3 cattle behind him. His eyes were wide. He was not running, but his body was ready to. Nia pulled up and called out, "Hamad, get behind the vehicle." Hamad's voice shook. "It's in the grass. I saw it." Jabu raised binoculars and scanned the long grass edge. Then he saw it. A faint movement. A head lifting. The lion's eyes catching light for half a second. The lion was closer than Nia liked. Hamad took a step back. Too fast. The lion stepped out of the grass again, exactly like it had with Daniel. Calm, in control, owning the line. Nia's heart tightened. Same behavior, same rule being tested. "Hamad," she said sharply, "do not run." Hamad's breathing was loud. "My cattle, leave them," Nia said. "Cattle can run. You cannot." Hamad hesitated, torn between livelihood and survival. Jabu spoke, voice low and hard. "Listen, lion wants the moving thing. If you run, you become the moving thing." Hamad swallowed and stepped backwards slowly, eyes locked on the lion. The cattle shifted behind him, nervous. One cow lowed. The lion's attention flicked to the cattle, then back to Hamad. It was deciding which movement mattered most. Nia moved the vehicle forward a few meters, like before, creating a larger obstacle between lion and man. She opened the passenger door slightly, making a wider shape. "Back," she told Hamad. "Slow." Hamad obeyed. The lion took one step forward, then stopped. The vehicle changed the equation. The lion had no interest in being hit by a machine. Lions learned that lesson early or didn't live long in managed landscapes. For a moment, the lion stood in full view, beautiful and terrible in a practical way, not mythical, not symbolic, just a predator that used lines and patience to get meals. Then the cattle made a mistake of their own. They bunched and started moving fast, trying to flee along the edge. Movement exploded. The lion's body dropped lower instantly, like a spring compressing. That was the real danger. Not the lion standing. The lion deciding. Nia's voice snapped. "Hamad, behind the vehicle, now!" Hamad moved faster. Again, not running, but urgent. He reached the vehicle and pressed close to it. Jabu grabbed Hamad's arm and pulled him fully behind metal. Nia accelerated forward, not toward the lion, but parallel to the edge, pushing presents into the lion's space and interrupting the line the lion wanted to use. The lion pivoted once, considering the fleeing cattle. Then it stopped. The vehicle had broken the edge advantage. The cattle had already widened the distance. The lion would have to sprint in open ground with no cover, and that was energy. Risk. Heat. The lion chose not to. It turned and slipped back into the tall grass like a thought disappearing. Hamad sagged against the vehicle, shaking. He whispered, almost to himself, "I wanted to run." Nia looked at him, and her voice softened slightly. "That's normal," she said, "but it kills people." Jabu nodded toward the long grass. "The lion keeps the edge," he said. "It's what lions do." Hamad swallowed. "And what do we do?" Nia stared at the line where short grass met tall, where danger could appear without warning. "We respect it," she said. "We stop pretending it's empty." They drove Hamad back toward his village path. The cattle, somewhere farther off, would either regroup or become a loss. The plane didn't care. It never did. As the sun lowered, the wind picked up slightly, rippling the grass. But the edge remained, a boundary that taught the same lesson again and again. Predators don't need to chase if you give them control of distance, and sometimes the moment you stop running is the moment you live.